Welcome to Biohackers Podcast. My name is Teemu Arina, and we are fresh from the first HoloLife Summit, which is now held in Tallinn, Estonia. And I had the incredible opportunity to sit down with Drapeau from STEM region, who gave a keynote also in this event. And I'm happy to tell you that STEM region is now finally available in European Union. If you've never heard about STEM region, it is a supplemental way of supporting your stem cell production, proliferation, and activation. And stem cells is kind of the next thing in biohacking to me. Like, it's really been a lot about mitochondria and blood sugar regulation, energy management, cognitive function. But stem cells are one of those like longevity systems, I would say, for us to live longer and have healthier years in our lives and faster recovery, all of that. So I'm very pleased to have Christian in the show. Welcome.
My pleasure.
Great. So what has been the topic that you did discuss in this year's conference?
Well, it's the same message that I usually have about stem cells, which is really that stem cells are the repair system of the body. But what I presented that was new is that, I've been talking about this for more than 20 years. It's simple. It's so obvious. Stem cells are the repair system of the body. Just like we have an immune system, we have a repair system. And yet, after 20 years, the information is really not sinking in the general population to an extent. But like in medicine, med students still are not taught that stem cells are the repair system of the body. So I wondered why. Why is this information so hard to be seen? And I think one of the main element is that the last time that a system was documented or discovered, I should say, was in the early 1900s with the immune system, the nervous system, and the endocrine system. All of these were discovered by academia. People discovering these all had like Nobel Prize. And a century later, we suddenly discovered that the human body has another system that we did not know before. It's hard to swallow that there's a new system not discovered by academia, not put forth by academia. Nobody has had Nobel Prize around it, and it's not taught in med school. So I really understand that people may be sometimes just a little reluctant, like it's not easy to swallow. And so I position all that information back into the historical context of stem cell research to show that it's not this new thing that just came out of nowhere, but it's really more than 100 years of development, one discovery at a time, that led to what we know about stem cells. So that when you present it like this, then suddenly it makes sense. All that information is just common sense. So that's really what I focused on at this presentation.
Yeah, it is interesting that stem cells, for most people, they are probably thinking about some medical treatments that are attempted if something else doesn't work, almost like last, resort for some, or it is some kind of novel therapy that is potentially comes with risks and invasive methods and all that, injecting stem cells into your body. But a nutritional intervention that supports your stem cell production. We discussed that a lot in our last episode on the different ingredients that are in your products. Now, in terms of the different studies that you would kind of highlight, you said there's 100 years of studies behind this and discovery. What are the recent things that have come out for you that you would kind of highlight in terms of our understanding on stem cells?
So for us, the approach that we have is that we have a blend of plant extract that triggers the release of our own stem cells. So it's called endogenous stem cell mobilization. A lot of the studies that we have in the scientific literature were done using compounds like GCSF, granulocyte colony stimulating factor. That's your natural response when you have an injury. Your body releases this compound, and this compound triggers the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. So many studies have shown that if you inject GCSF in animals, you really help repair from damage to the heart, to the lung, to the pancreas, to the liver, to the skin, to the brain. Like, it really boosts repair. The problem is that that compound has toxicity when used in humans. So we know that releasing your own stem cells work, but as a treatment, it cannot be applied in humans. So what we have is a blend of plant extract that also trigger the release of your own stem cells to a lesser extent, but because it's completely safe, it can be done over long periods of time. So what we wanted to do and needed to do is to show that this product that we have developed, if it does release stem cells, we should see an impact on the recovery or repair of various organs and tissues in the body, like what we can find in animal studies in the literature. So that's what we started. So we started a number of studies. The two that are ongoing right now, one is on stable chronic congestive heart failure, another one is on Parkinson, and the one that was published recently, about a month ago, is on chronic stable congestive heart failure. So people who have had congestive heart failure for at least 2 years, it's more than that, but for the last 2 years, it's stable. So with all the treatment that medicine could do for these individuals. And what we do is that we start giving them this blend of plant extract, 2 capsules 3 times a day, and we follow them over 6 months. And in this preliminary report, I say preliminary because it's the first 10 patients of a study that we hope to reach 50 to 100 patients, but the first 10, all 10 had normal heart function 6 months, 6 months later. So we're talking about people for whom medicine did the best that it could. The heart is traditionally known to be an organ that does not repair very well. And here we are confirming what has been published in the animal studies. Like, this is completely in line with what exists in the scientific literature. By triggering the release of these people's own stem cells, people that are between, let's say, 60 to 75 years of age, they release their own stem cells every day, and within 6 months, all of them have regained normal heart function.
So what you're talking about here, Parkinson's, heart disease, these are degenerative diseases that are the biggest killers of not just our generation, but world population in general. We look at 27% of world population having like multiple chronic conditions. If you live more than 65 years old, there is somewhere between 60 and 70% of people have multiple chronic conditions. The older you become, the more likely it is that you will have one of those things, which is heart disease, some nervous system issues like Parkinson's. You have metabolic issues like diabetes, and like different conditions related to heart disease. Now, those are the things that we see, and what you're saying is that supporting your stem cell production might be one of the ways how we maybe slow down the aging process, can maybe reverse those chronic conditions. And definitely this is health span medicine in a way that it extends healthy years in your life. Now, what is the reason why today's lifestyle, the way people age, with all these chronic conditions, that they are, I mean, if this stem cell support really works, then it means that there's something that is hindering their innate stem cell function at the moment. So what are the sources of stress or reduction of stem cell production? Or is this like part of a bigger picture, in a sense that the reduction in stem cell production is a natural process of aging, and you are kind of supporting it artificially, if you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So are you restoring normal function, or are you boosting the natural decline to a level where we can see that it's starting to function more like a young person's stem cell production?
Yeah, it's more of a boosting effect. So if we, it's natural human physiology. So we're born with red marrow that very early in life converts to fatty marrow that does not make stem cells. By age 30, we've lost about 90% of our red marrow, which corresponds to a 90% decline in the number of stem cells in circulation. And the number of stem cells in circulation dictates how you can repair today if you have an injury or something to repair, but also how you can maintain your organs and tissues for decades to come. Because one thing that has emerged from uh, from the scientific literature is that from stem cell research is that the body is constantly in a process of tissue turnover. We lose cells every day, and we need stem cells to replace the cells that are being lost. So as long as you have enough stem cells to offset cellular loss, you're totally fine. You can maintain every single organ and tissue. But when you start to no longer have enough stem cells in circulation to offset cellular loss, then a deficit starts to develop in various tissues. So you look at any kind of age-related diseases, like example, diabetes. You don't have enough stem cells making insulin because you've lost them. If you have hypothyroidism, you lost cells that can make T3, T4. So every single age-related disease is the loss of a type of cells that stem cells can turn into those type of cells. So if you don't have enough stem cells in circulation, deficit starts to develop into tissues, which over time becomes age-related disease. So we develop those problems because of that natural decline in stem cell function. We need to keep in mind we have evolved over tens of thousands of years with a life expectancy of about 30 years of age. So longevity is not something that was selected during our evolution. Now we have 50 years more over the past 150 years. We've gained 50 years in longevity, but we don't really have the physiology to really be optimal health during that time. So what we are doing is that by triggering the release of our own stem cells, on that day, we've given back to the body its ability to repair that it had, let's say, 20 years ago. And if you do that every day, then you basically provide enough stem cells to start to replenish tissues with cells, repair them, and actually really improve various kinds of age-related disease. And if you talk about longevity, and to me it's probably the most relevant message, is that when you study centenarians or super centenarians to see what are the characteristics that they all share, they all have in common. And there's really two things that they have in common. They're happy, number one, and number two, they don't develop age-related diseases until a few months before their passing. So delaying the onset of the development of age-related disease is the strongest strategy to increase longevity. And because you don't develop these problems, it's longevity with health span. So putting more stem cells in circulation, that's what it gives you.
Right. What are the lifestyle factors that would increase stem cell production naturally, and what are the things that would reduce their production? I'm just curious.
Yeah, there's not a lot that we know of. Some. So we know that like intense physical activity will put more stem cells in circulation. So you go to the gym and you really like kill yourself, you will trigger stem cell
Is
release.
that because it is due to damage to the
I
muscle?
think so.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, that's a natural response, right? You need
Correct.
more cells, so that's not necessarily like supporting long term.
Correct. So it's often, it has been talked as a way of putting more stem cells in circulation, but you just look back at life, athletes that have trained for long periods of time do not necessarily have a better health when they're older. So you release more stem cells, but they're utilized to repair the damages. So I'm not sure that it's a longevity. I mean, exercise is great for a lot of things. It's definitely a longevity practice, but training to the extent where you create enough damage to actually release stem cells might not be the strategy for longevity.
So the effect of exercise not necessarily is the health benefits for longevity is not because of stem cells per se. There's all these other positive
There's a lot of
adaptations
other
from
things.
it. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so basically that's not one. So how about like sleep, stress?
Fasting. Fasting more than 3 days will put more stem cells in circulation, but it does something that is probably more significant than putting more stem cells in circulation, is that it rejuvenates stem cells. So autophagy in stem cells basically make them rejuvenate. So you take samples of stem cells from the bone marrow before and after a fast, and you can see that after the fast, stem cells behave like younger stem cells. So as we start to include fasting into your lifestyle, your longevity lifestyle. Let's say you do a 3-day fast 2-3 times a year. you are going to constantly rejuvenate your stem cells, which will have a huge impact on longevity. So fasting is a great approach to really boost stem cells. Stress is going to suppress stem cell function in the same manner as smoking will do and alcohol also will do. So every day that you smoke, every day that you drink, every day that you're stressed, your stem cells have a reduced ability to migrate into tissues and to proliferate. So if you just think, I think that stress is probably the most dominant factor that is, through its effect on stem cells, is associated to so many different kinds of age-related problems. You look at almost every single age-related problems, and stress is a component of it. And now we understand that if you live for, in today's world, all your life you live with stress. So during all these decades, your stem cell function has been reduced.
Right. I guess it's more about the negative type of stress, like
Mhm.
distress. So when it comes to like
Cortisol.
positive,
It's cortisol. So it could also be, to an extent, positive stress, but definitely more the negative stress that you like simmer on.
yeah, is cortisol like here somehow like inhibiting stem cell release?
Correct. Not release, migration and proliferation. So they essentially, the studies that were done is that you take a rat and you take stem cells from the animal, then you put the animal in a pool, and then after a few minutes of being in a pool, which really stresses the animal, then you take another sample of stem cells. And if you compare their activity, they're shut down in their ability to migrate and proliferate. If you redo the same study but remove the adrenal glands, so now the animal can no longer release cortisol, and then you redo the exact same process, you don't see the impact on stem cells. So it's stress hormones.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like stress hormones are part of your ability to wake up in the morning. So you kind of need
Yeah,
them. It's a positive thing. But now this excess throughout the day might be kind of
correct.
one of those like
Correct.
problems that you don't have enough moments of recovery. Gotcha. So I guess like this conversation brings us down to if one wants to support stem cell release or proliferation activity, like your real options are either injecting them or like some kind of nutraceutical approach, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And in terms of nutraceutical side, are there like, I mean, you mentioned there's drugs with side effects. That's the third one, right? Of course, like some kind of pharmaceuticals. So when it comes to food, is there like some regular dietary choices that one can make to support their stem cell production? Is it about using like all kinds of bitter herbs all the time, or is there like some magic thing that one can have, like kale, that supports it?
It's not known. Yeah, I mean, there's not enough studies that has been done so far to study like food intake and the impact of food on releasing stem cells. All we can tell right now is a keto diet is what has been supporting stem cell activity, stem cell function in the body. It's not tons of studies, but somewhere it just makes sense that when you fast, you basically create ketones in the body. A lot of the benefits of fasting can be duplicated just by taking or injecting ketones. So ketone and a keto diet might be the common denominator to the impact of fasting on stem cells. So keto diet seems to be what supports stem cells the most.
Okay, so looking at your products, you have this Madagascar-based aloe vera species. Does all aloe vera species have this stem cell effect? I'm just curious.
Not that we have seen it. It's not aloe vera. It's aloe macroclada. So they have, what, 65 species in Madagascar, and only that species has been used to make Vahona historically. So we did briefly test two different types of aloe, and we did not see the effect, but we did not see the effect with the same intensity by far. So I would say probably all aloe have that effect to some extent, and we simply just have it with a relatively small dose, actually, of aloe macroclada. Uh, Tests have shown a higher concentration of acimanins, but that's all that we know so far. So we don't really know why this specific aloe is so much more potent as a stem cell mobilizer.
Right. So often aloe is something that people might think is good for your gut health or like wound healing, all of that. So does macroclada have like similar kind of uses?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. But it has been used to create this oral product called Vahona. They have other species. So I think they use other species for topical application. It doesn't mean that it won't work, but they use other species for topical.
Is it like for gum health or what does
Gum
it mean
health.
oral?
Gum health, skin, intestinal healing, a lot of this diarrhea, not diarrhea, constipation. It's a lot of the use of aloe as well.
Yeah, that's what I remember about aloe. Like I did make like when I was into raw foods, like some of these aloe vera based smoothies, and I definitely noticed it does help reduce constipation, sometimes to the level of MCT oil running pants. Anyway, yeah, it's quite something. Now that's a key component. So if you
But just to be clear, what really is eliminating constipation is a component of aloe that is normally removed when we make stem aloe or this extract from
right, so you're not interested in that compound. You're
correct.
not
So this is more the latex. So it's the aloins. They're very well known to do this. It's a class of compounds called intraquinone. They're known to do that. But some people have suggested, I mean, some linked to cancer use for long periods of time. So right now, in order to comply with European regulations, US regulations, so we basically remove these intraquinones. So it's only the gel. So it does not have the effect of on as a laxative.
right. Got it. So let's go through some of the ingredients in this supplement. Is the product, by the way, the same in European market like in
It is the
US?
same.
Wow, that's great because it's not easy to get sometimes regulatory approval here. So let's go through some of the kind of key components. You have 3 products. I've tried the release. I noticed like my nails grow faster, and it seems to support if I've had like jet lag or lack of sleep, things like that. So I like to take it almost like a stress supplement. That's what I've been kind of using it for, and dosing on it for a long period of time. The release one that helps to release stem cells. Now, can you go through the whole kind of protocol and stack of things? And so, is this aloe? Is that in the first product, or is it in all of them, or like
Just on release and support.
right? Okay, got it. So let's go through kind of the mechanisms of action of these herbal compounds, and maybe we can like touch base quickly on each one.
The mechanisms of action are not the same for all the different plants that stimulate stem cells, and some of them we don't know what's the mechanism of action. But the idea was to combine plants that have different mechanisms of action so that you get better synergy. The blue-green algae, the mechanism of action is that it contains an L-selectin blocker. L-selectin is a molecule that plays a role in the expression of a receptor on the surface of stem cells that play a crucial role in the maintenance or the residence of stem cells in the bone marrow. The moment you downregulate that receptor by blocking this L-selectin, stem cell detach and get into the bloodstream. So that's one mechanism. The other mechanism is like you get this with notoginseng, for example. We believe we get this also with the sea buckthorn berry. So it's just like you have plants that do that contains fasting mimicking compounds. They make your body act, or your cells act as if you were fasting. In the same way, they're like injury mimicking compounds. So we found in your bloodstream compounds that your body normally would release if it is injured. So it triggers a repair response, which is release of stem cells. There's another mechanism of action that the notoginseng has this mechanism of action, which is normally you have SDF1, which attracts stem cells to the bone marrow, always in the bone marrow. So it keeps stem cells in the bone marrow. But if you shift the gradient of SDF1 by reducing it in the bone marrow and increasing it in the blood, then now stem cells are attracted to the blood compartment. So notogensin will do that. Within a few hours of consumption, you have a shift in the gradient of SDF1. So these are three different mechanisms of action. So by blending them together, we sort of have that synergy.
Right. Not a ginseng and ginseng species in general. I've used them for their blood sugar regulation benefits. So many of these so-called adaptogens have pretty interesting effects also on that side. And in that way, it also acts as kind of a nootropic because then you don't have that like fluctuation of blood sugar and you have better better focus. And so when you are supporting the release, so now we have stem cells in the bloodstream. I assume that it's migrating potentially to the areas of injury, right? So how do we then support that function once it's in the bloodstream, so it finds the right place and activates?
Yeah, it's a good question because naturally stem cells will find that place where they need to go. This is how the body was designed. Uh, Whenever you have an injury as a kid, it repaired, and that's the phenomenon that kicked in. When you're older, it does not repair as well, and there's a few reasons for that. Number one, you have fewer stem cells in circulation, but also as we age, microcirculation starts to get compromised. If you get an area that has developed some sort of chronic issues, oftentimes it affects the local microcirculation. So stem cells cannot really enter the blood circulation, the microvasculature of the area that is in need of repair. You're still releasing stem cells, but they cannot get to the area, so the area does not repair. So you develop the chronicity of the chronic nature of the problem. So, and that's where Mobilize comes in. So we develop Mobilize to open the blood vasculature. So it's nattokinase to increase blood flow, um, to increase blood fluidity. We have a nitric oxide producer to dilate arterioles. Now, arterioles dilation will bring more blood into the capillaries, but your capillaries need to be able to extend to accept this extra flow. So we have bioflavonoids, plant extract to help rebuild the capillaries, and the polysaccharide to rebuild the glycocalyx. So basically, by using Mobilize with release that put more stem cells in circulation, now you make it easier for stem cells to really penetrate your microvasculature and go where they need to go to be able to do repair.
Right. That's a smart strategy. You're basically improving microcirculation, blood flow. I would imagine someone could use something like an infrared sauna
Absolutely.
or even like red light
Red light.
panels to increase that nitric oxide production and blood flow on these peripheral parts of the cardiovascular system. And then that could be potentially synergistic with this mobilized product.
Absolutely. So far, I mean, red lights, sauna are relevant. What has probably been the most documented is pulse electromagnetic frequencies, PMF. So it has been actually a lot of the benefits of PMF now is suspected to be coming from stem cells, meaning that it supports the migration of stem cells and it pulls more stem cells in that area, either by an effect directly on stem cells or just because it increased microcirculation in the area. So it ends up pooling more stem cells, stimulate their migration in the tissue, stimulate their proliferation. And if you just apply PMF on stem cells themselves, it facilitates their transformation into bone, tendon, ligaments, muscles. So, and that's probably one of the reasons why PMF has been so good for sport injuries, for example. So that is a good one to apply locally. So you release your own stem cells, and then you apply PMF in an area, and there's a good chance that you're pulling stem cells there and stimulate their migration in the tissue where you want to go. It's just that it's not necessarily easy to do for, let's say, your liver or for your heart or for your brain. It's good for a joint or a muscle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're kind of opening up the pipes a little bit so that the stuff can get into this destination. All right. So you have a sports product also.
Correct.
So what is the role of that?
Well, as we started to have professional athletes wanting to try the product, because the one thing that we see that is almost like the most common is the speed of recovery. It really boosts someone's recovery time. So for professional athletes, this is worth a lot. Like recovery time is probably the thing that they monitor the most and they're running after the most. So a lot of them wanted to use the product, but it was not NSF certified. So they're concerned about testing, so no athletes were really using the product. So we decided to go and get it NSF certified, but because stem regen release contains colostrum, colostrum is a natural source of insulin growth factor, and insulin growth factor is on the WADA list. So because of this, then NSF would not certify the product. Actually, none of the bodies certifying for sport, for WADA, would certify the product. So we had to remove the colostrum, and we decided to change it with a product that really supports recovery. So pterostilbene supports recovery after muscle exertion, but also as an effect on stem cells, supports migration, proliferation, and differentiation of stem cells. So by putting this product into stem regen release, now it becomes stem regen sport. It can be certified NSF. It has been certified NSF, and then it supports also better recovery for athletes. So that's what the sport is.
Right. So it's all about resilience and ability to bounce back from hardship, either physical or I guess like mental, or basically like you have just too much work to do. So this is good for the keyboard warriors also.
For recovery, I mean, we have a study that we did. We published this in 2015, if I remember well, with a lesser formula than what we have now. And it was just a chance that we had with a soccer team, professional soccer team in Madrid. And that team had 12 players with the same kind of soft tissue injury to the ankle. So they called their doctor, which is a friend of mine, and so we decided to use this opportunity to do a study. So everybody had access to the normal treatments, everything that is available for them for repair, but 6 of them, and we paired matched them, like the same type of injury, same kind of body weight, and so on. So we paired matched them, and 6 of them did exactly what the others did, plus adding stem cell release from their bone marrow. And what we could see in these individuals is that they use much less pain medication, much less anti-inflammatory drugs. They improve much faster, and then return to play about a week before the other players. So just to show, it just accelerate repair and recovery in case of injuries, or just in case of micro lesions that have taken place in the past game or the past performance, and now you repair much faster. So it basically gives better performance over time to athletes.
Got it. All right. So that's the stack, right?
That's the stack. And we have one other product that we've developed called Signal. And this one is understanding that inflammation, and without going into the depth of what inflammation is, essentially the role of inflammation is to tell stem cells where the problem is. It's just to attract stem cells to that area. When stem cells migrate in an area, the first thing that they do is to suppress inflammation. So if something as poor microcirculation has become chronic, is not repairing, that means the inflammation created by this site has become systemic. It's like now everywhere in the bloodstream. If it's systemic, now stem cells can no longer see where it's coming from because it's everywhere. So it really suppresses its noise in the bloodstream that suppresses stem cells' ability to find where they need to go. So by taking Signal, which is a bunch of plant extracts that blocks COX-2, 5-LOX, all the different pathways of inflammation, so you suppress systemic inflammation or background noise just to allow stem cells to find where they need to go. So the stack is, you define where they need to go, the microcirculation is open so they can circulate there, and you can put PMF, red lights, things like this, and you really maximize the whole outcome.
So what is in that signal? Is it like if it suppresses inflammation, right? Is the idea that you suppress the inflammation so that the signaling of the stem cells is going through?
You suppress the secretion of these inflammatory compounds like phycocyanin, which is a blocker of COX-2, Terminalia chibula, aritaki from Ayurveda, which is a blocker of 5-LOX. You've got andrographis, that prevents the secretion of certain inflammatory cytokines, bromelain, that digests existing cytokines. So that's the idea of the formulation. There's a few other plants, but they all suppress the secretion of various inflammatory compounds.
Right. All right. So at what age would you recommend someone starting a protocol like this? You mentioned athletes, of course, any age, right? So if you want to recover faster and all of that, but at what age does it become critical to support this? Like, because I can imagine that these studies that are about this recovery ability. Like if there's an effect, then the older you are, probably have a more profound relative effect, because when you're young, you recover fast anyway, right? So you have all the energy in the world, but as you age, you start to see like slowing down many processes, including production of stem cells. So from what age onwards would you look at it?
When I started all this work, my thought was in young people, we shouldn't see really big difference because they already have plenty of stem cells. In old people, let's say past 80 years of age, they have so few stem cells that, if you have a buck in your pocket, a dollar in your euro in your pocket, and I double it, well, you still only have 2 euros. So it's not really going to make a big difference. And all I can say is that everything that we have seen over the past, 20, 25 years that I've been working with these plants is that at any age, you put more stem cells in circulation and the body will utilize these stem cells. But you are correct in saying that like observationally, epidemiologically, the people who seem to experience greater benefit are people beyond, let's say, 40 years of age. Meaning when you put more stem cells in circulation, their body is just thirsty for those stem cells and they utilize it and you see a greater difference. You see it in younger people, it's more in athletes. When they're really pushing themselves, they have more stem cells in circulation, but they really abuse their bodies. So putting more stem cells seem to really make a difference.
Right. So that actually lines really well what we started from, which was this whole idea of preventing degenerative diseases. And the statistics show that, you're pretty good until, 30s, late 30s, but when you hit 40, especially when you hit 50, like degenerative diseases, like, and overlapping ones even, like they just go up and off the roof or through the roof. So that would make a lot of sense that supporting the stem cell release at that age makes sense.
Totally. To me, this is the biggest message of all this knowledge on stem cells. We have evolved, grown into societies that, on the culture, if I could say, of traditional medicine, which is you do something only when you have a problem. And once you've resolved the problem, then you stop doing what you did to resolve the problem. And not really fully understanding that the moment you stop, well, you've just restarted to develop the next problem that will be there 5, 10 years down the road. We're constantly developing problems. The moment that we pass 30, we don't have enough stem cells in circulation to really offset cellular loss. So we restart the development of something else. Once we understand this, to me, it becomes obvious. Let's just put more stem cells in circulation every day, or at least when you're in your 30s, let's say once a year for a month. When you're in 40s, do this 2, 3, 4 times a year. When you're in your 50s, start to think about doing this maybe every other month, or start to do this like all the time. Just put more stem cells in circulation every day, and you really boost your ability, your body's ability to keep the health that you have today for decades to come.
Got it. So that's a completely new way to think about supplements. I mean, people think about supporting immune system or cognitive function or cardiovascular system. Where you started from was to highlight this system that we have maybe neglected, that we focus too much on the nervous system, immune system, cardiovascular system. Now, this whole stem cell, which is the recovery system, like when you take that on the list, potential supplements actually have synergistic effects to all those other things that you want to also do.
Totally.
Blood sugar regulation, cardiovascular performance, nervous system health, all of that. So some of these plant extracts would be very beneficial alongside with your stack.
Yeah. Stem cells have been like, take cardiovascular issues, for example. I remember an article, the title, if I remember well, was Atherosclerosis Results from a Failure of Endogenous Repair, which means stem cells. So it's directly linked to the fact that you don't have enough stem cells in circulation. And that is true for a lot of other conditions. We develop them because when the problems start at a very small level, it is not repaired. And it grows and it develops and it leads to more serious problems that are getting more and more difficult to reverse. But it starts by a poor ability to repair. The moment that we boost that ability to repair, we nip in the bud any of these small problems developing. So it becomes a much smarter strategy to really age with optimal health, and for longevity. But it's not in our psyche. Our psyche is that if I feel fine today, then I will do something about my health when I start to lose it. And oftentimes, I won't say it's too late, but it's much more difficult at that point than it would have been just to maintain your good health. And that's something that is, the world of biohacking is definitely as understood this whole thing, and then so many things are being done to reach optimal health, which is really, I think this is where all of this is going.
How do you know that someone is really getting benefits of stem cells while taking a product like this? Is there like an immediate effect that you would see from it, or is it something you have to take for like 30 days until you see some results?
Well, it depends. It really depends on the person. It depends what problem needs to be resolved. It also depends on, when you say, can we feel the results? You've been releasing stem cells since the day you're born. Like, stem cells have been doing their work in everybody every single day of their lives. So to put more in circulation, it's like you breathing air and you go to a place there's more oxygen, you won't feel it. You may feel more energy, but you cannot detect it, per se. So it's a little bit the same thing. So you won't detect that you have more stem cells in circulation. If you do have an injury, if you do have something that needs repair, yeah, you can see the effect on whatever needs to be repaired. But what I often tell people is that you really want to see what your stem cells can do for you, and how stem regen release really puts more stem cells in circulation. Go to the gym. Go do something that you normally do, that you with your body you don't normally do. Something that is going to really create soreness, and kill yourself at the gym. Go run a marathon. Something that will create some pain. And they take 2 capsules of stem regen release right after, or sport, 2 capsules before you go to bed, and see how you feel the day after. It will be completely, do the same thing in 2 different times, and you will see how different you feel. And it's just the role of your own stem cells. You've just released your own stem cells, and they were immediately attracted where you had micro lesions in muscle, ligaments, tendons, and so on, and they repaired. And then the process can be, by experience, can be fairly fast. And that will show you that not only the product works, but that your stem cells are working in your body. So they will do other things that you don't feel, but it will show you that they're working.
Right. So as a use case, you might have a chronic condition or you're worried to develop one. You could use that long term. The second thing is you're worried about aging and you're interested in health span optimization, potential lifespan. That's when you would do it. And the third one would be that you are going through periods of stress or strenuous exercise and you're beating your body in different ways. And then this is almost like an insurance that you can take, in a sense that you will recover faster and you will get faster benefits, and you're back on the wheel, so to say, back on the tracks.
Yeah. And recover faster in something for athletes, professional athletes, or people who really have severe and recurrent activity, is that whenever you have an injury, it's always at the place of the accumulation of smaller microlesions that have not fully repaired. So if you start to repair those much more effectively and much more quickly, it's an insurance against future injuries. So, and to me, for somebody who is aging, let's say past 40, but still wants to train and have like really intense physical activity, it's an insurance against injuries.
Right. So anyone who has chronic pain or kind of repeating issues on certain areas. I just met someone who loves dancing but can't really do it because all the damage that has accumulated over the years, like doing too much of that. I personally have like some wrist issues from using the damn rodent too much. And I love computers, but I don't like the way how it puts stress on my joints. Someone who's been playing tennis or golf or football or whatever and has like joint issues, like tennis elbow or something like this, that like chronic thing that has been accumulating, that might be useful then to also stimulate the release, signaling, the migration, the activation of stem cells on those target sites. And I think that basically means that this approach has multiple different use cases, for which reasons you might want to try it. I have personally used it now, and I love the product. I like with many supplements, you're kind of thinking like, is my body going to tolerate it? Is there like side effects or something like this? But I've only seen like positive side effects. Yeah, like faster recovery, better gut function. Like there has been also like this weird like nail growth and hair growth. Like seems like, yeah, I mean my system is definitely responding very well to this stack. And I love herbs. And here in Hololive Summit at Hololive Dinner, we actually made a salad dressing out of your product. So we threw that into a nice. I mean, many of these herbs are fat soluble. So using it like in an olive oil dressing or something like this is pretty interesting way of making a stem cell supporting gravy. And but yeah, capsules are the way how you use them. It's not even that many. Like there's many products you have to take like 15, but this is like only like two. Yeah. That I also like that it's the effective dose doesn't require that you have like some massive dose of pills in the morning. But yeah, this is a great product so far in my experience, and I love all the formulation details also for other synergistic targets that we're not going to cover now. But like if anyone looks into not all ginseng and like there was sea buckthorn. I mean, I use sea buckthorn all the time. I just actually had a sea buckthorn shot today. And that's one of those berries that I have available locally, but when I travel, I don't have. So taking a stem region bottle with me is a way for me to have that insurance that I have access to sea buckthorn, which is a pretty resilient plant. And yeah, it's awesome. So if people want to now get their hands on stem region, it's available in European Union. It was not so easy on this. As you know, like you often order all kinds of supplements from online stores and they get stuck in customs coming to Europe. Now you can actually order it from European Union. So you go to stemregion.co/EU and you will be able to get your hands on these goodies that me and Dr. Olli Sovijärvi and Siim Land also, who is the slowest aging person, not on the planet. I think it's a bit too much to say that, but he's definitely on top 3 of the slowest aging people. He beat even Brian Johnson, and he has been a big fan of all these kind of adaptogenic herbs and different ways of slowing down the aging process. So with that, is there anything else you want to throw in?
Covered a lot.
Yeah. Fantastic. So people listening, check out also the last episode we did with Christian Drapeau, and hopefully this added like additional context on the actual usage of these products that are part of this new system, the recovery system, an old system, 100 years old system, but a new system in terms of public awareness and also professional awareness, I would say. And there's a supplemental approach how you can stimulate your stem cell production and proliferation. Thank you very much, Christian.